Hello, everyone. Got a few dirty jokes for you today.
So, a Catholic, a Baptist, and a Mormon are bragging about the size of their families. I have 4 boys, and my wife is expecting another, says the Catholic. 1 more son, and I'll have a basketball team. That's nothing, says the Baptist. I have 10 boys now, and my wife is pregnant with another child. 1 more son, and I'll have a football team. That's nothing, says the Mormon. I have 17 wives. 1 more wife, and I'll have a golf course. So a young woman was taking golf lessons and had just started playing her first round of golf when she suffered a bee sting. Her pain was so intense that she decided to return to the clubhouse for medical assistance. The golf pro saw her heading back and said, "You are back early. What's wrong?" "I was stung by a bee," she said. "Where?" he asked. "Between the first and second hole," she replied. He nodded and said, "Your stance is too wide." So a husband and wife were golfing when the wife suddenly asked, "Honey, if I died, would you get married again?" The husband replied, "No, sweetie." She pressed, "I'm sure you would." He sighed, "Okay, I suppose I might." Then she asked, "Would you let her sleep in our bed?" He shrugged, "Yeah, I guess so." Finally, she said, "Would you let her use my golf clubs?" He grinned, "No, she's left-handed." So Usain Bolt walks into a golf clubhouse to get a membership and play around. The receptionist says, "Sorry, sir, we don't allow black people in this golf club." Usain replies, "That's ridiculous. It's 2025. How can you still ban black people?" The receptionist sighs, "Please don't make a scene, sir. There's another golf club 5 minutes down the road that will welcome you." Usain retorts, "But I'm Usain Bolt." The receptionist smirks. "In that case, 2 minutes." So a golfer hits his ball into a yard next to the golf course. As he goes to retrieve it, a man in the yard snaps, "Don't you see the sign? It says, 'Private property, stay out.'" The golfer apologizes. "I'm sorry, I didn't see it. That's my ball over there. May I have it, please?" The man retorts, "It's in my yard, so it's my ball now." The golfer nods and says, "I understand." He then walks back to his golf cart, grabs another ball, returns, and tosses it into the yard. The man asks, "What's that for?" The golfer replied, "I'm a gentleman, and I believe every prick should have 2 balls." So a golfer is walking down the road carrying his clubs when he sees an Arab being held up at gunpoint. He pulls out a wedge and smashes it over the back of the robber's head, knocking him unconscious. "You probably saved my life," says the grateful Arab. "I am a member of the Saudi royal family, and I have the power and money to give you anything you desire as a reward." The golfer glances at his golf bag. "Some new golf clubs would be nice," he says. 2 weeks later, the sheik's secretary calls him up. "We've got your golf clubs," he says, "but the sheik would like to apologize to you in advance. Only 3 of them have swimming pools." So Nick and John head out for a quick round of golf. Short on time, they decide to play only 9 holes. Nick says to John, "Let's make it worth our while, at least for one of us, and bet $5 on the lowest score today." John agrees, and they enjoy a great game. After the 8th hole, John leads by 1 stroke but slices his ball into the rough on the 9th. "Help me find my ball. You look over there," he says to Nick. After 3 minutes, neither has had any luck. Since a lost ball carries a 2-stroke penalty, John pulls a ball from his pocket and tosses it to the ground. "I found my ball," he announces triumphantly. Nick looks at him forlornly. "After all the years we've been friends, you'd cheat me at golf for a measly $5? "What do you mean, cheat? I found my ball right here. And a liar, too," Nick says in amazement. "I've been standing on your ball for the last 3 minutes." So a golfer sliced a ball into a field of chickens, striking one of the hens and killing it instantly. He was understandably upset and sought out the farmer. "I'm sorry," he said. "My terrible tee shot hit one of your hens and killed it. Can I replace the hen?" "I don't know about that," replied the farmer, mulling it over. "How many eggs a day do you lay?" So a young man with a few hours to spare one afternoon figures that if he hurries and plays very fast, he can get in 9 holes before he has to head home. As he is about to tee off, an old gentleman shuffles onto the tee and asks if he can join him. Although worried this will slow him up, the younger man says, of course. To his surprise, the old man plays quickly. He doesn't hit the ball very far, but it goes straight. Furthermore, the old man moves along without wasting any time. When they reach the 9th fairway, the young man is facing a tough shot. A large pine tree sits in front of his ball, directly between it and the green. After several minutes of pondering how to hit the shot, the old man says, "You know, when I was your age, I'd hit the ball right over that tree." With the challenge before him, the young man swings hard, hits the ball, watches it fly into the branches, rattle around, and land with a thud a foot from where it had started. "Of course," says the old man, "when I was your age, that tree was only 3 feet tall." So, 2 golfers are ready to play on the 11th tee as a funeral cortege passes by. The first player stops, doffs his cap, and bows his head as the cortege passes. "That was a really nice thing to do," the second golfer says. "It's good to see there is still some respect in the world." "Well, it's only right," the first golfer replies. "I was married to her for 35 years. So, a golfer walks into the clubhouse of the local country club. He tells the golf pro behind the counter that he wants to do 18 and he is going to need a caddy. The golf pro informs him that the country club is running a promotion, and if he tries out one of their experimental robot caddies, he can golf for free. The golfer agrees and takes out the robot. While on the golf course, the robot caddy tells the golfer the wind speed, distance, even how hard to hit which club. He has the best game of his life. The next time the golfer goes to the country club, he tells the golf pro that he wants to do 18 holes and that he wants to get one of the robot caddies. He informs the golfer that they don't have the robot caddies anymore. The golfer, all upset, tells him how great they were and asks him what happened. The golf pro tells him that members were complaining that the sun would reflect of their metallic material and into their eyes. The golfer asks him why they didn't just paint the robots black. The golf pro said that they did paint them into black robot caddies, but the next day, 3 of them didn't show up and the other 3 robbed the pro shop. So one fine day in Ireland, a guy is out golfing and gets up to the 16th hole. He tees up and cranks one. Unfortunately, it goes into the woods on the side of the fairway. He goes looking for his ball and comes across this little guy with this huge knot on his head and the golf ball lying right beside him. "Goodness," says the golfer, and proceeds to revive the poor little guy. Upon Upon awaking, the little guy says, "Well, you caught me fair and square. I am a Leprechaun. I will grant you 3 wishes." The man says, "I can't take anything from you. I'm just glad I didn't hurt you too badly," and walks away. Watching the golfer depart, the Leprechaun thinks, "Well, he was a nice enough guy, and he did catch me, so I have to do something for him. I'll give him the 3 things that I would want. I'll give him unlimited money, a great golf game, and a great sex life." Well, a year goes past and the same golfer is out golfing on the same course at the 16th hole. He gets up and hits one into the same woods and goes off looking for his ball. When he finds the ball, he sees the same little guy and asks how he is doing. The Leprechaun says, "I'm fine, and might I ask how your golf game is?" The golfer says, "It's great. I hit under par every time." The Leprechaun says, "I did that for you. And might I ask how your money is holding out?" The golfer says, "Well, now that you mention it, every time I put my hand in my pocket, I pull out a 10-pound note." The Leprechaun smiles and says, "I did that for you. And might I ask how your sex life is?" The golfer looks at him a little shyly and says, "Well, maybe once or twice a week." The Leprechaun is floored and stammers, "Once or twice a week?" The golfer, a little embarrassed, looks at him and says, "Well, that's not too bad for a Catholic priest in a small parish." So 2 friends went out to play golf and were about to tee off when one fellow noticed that his partner had but 1 golf ball. "Don't you have at least 1 other golf ball?" he asked. The other guy replied that no, he only needed the 1. "Are you sure?" The friend persisted. "What happens if you lose that ball?" The other guy replied, "This is a very special golf ball. I won't lose it, so I don't need another one." "Well," the friend asked, "what happens if you miss your shot and the ball goes in the lake?" "That's okay," he replied. "This special golf ball floats. I'll be able to retrieve it." "Well, what happens if you hit it into the trees and it gets lost among the bushes and shrubs?" The other guy replied, "That's okay too. You see, this special golf ball has a homing beacon. I'll be able to get it back, no problem." Exasperated, the friend asks, "Okay, let's say our game goes late. The sun goes down and you hit your ball into a sand trap. What are you going to do then?" "No problem," says the other guy. "You see, this ball is fluorescent. I'll be able to see it in the dark." Finally satisfied that he needs only the 1 golf ball, the friend asks, "Hey, where did you get a golf ball like that anyway?" The other guy replies, "I found it." So 2 women were playing golf. One teed off and watched in horror as her ball headed directly toward a foursome of men playing the next hole. The ball hit one of the men. He immediately clasped his hands together at his groin, fell to the ground, and proceeded to roll around in agony. The woman rushed down to the man and immediately began to apologize. "Please, allow me to help. I'm a physical therapist, and I know I could relieve your pain if you'd allow me," she told him. "Oh, no, I'll be all right. I'll be fine in a few minutes," the man replied. He was in obvious agony, lying in the fetal position, still clasping his hands there at his groin. At her persistence, however, he finally allowed her to help. She gently took his hands away and laid them to the side, loosened his pants, and put her hands inside. She administered tender and artful massage for several long moments and asked, "How does that feel?" "Feels great," he replied, "but I still think my thumb's broken." So a doctor and his wife were playing golf at the local country club. While on the first tee, his wife drove a 300-yard tee shot straight down the fairway. The doctor was amazed and exclaimed, "Wow, I've never seen you hit the ball this well before." His wife replied, "Well, I took lessons." A couple of days later, the doctor and his wife were on the tennis court playing mixed doubles. Throughout the entire match, the wife smashed all of her serves and never missed a point. The doctor said, "Wow, I've never seen you play tennis so well before." Again, his wife replied, "Well, I took lessons." That night, they settled into a nice dinner at home. The doctor's wife brought out exotic appetizers, beef Wellington cooked to perfection, and baked Alaska for dessert. The doctor said, "Wow, I've never seen you cook like this before." Once again, his wife replied, "Well, I took lessons." That night after dinner, she gave him that look, and they went upstairs to their bedroom. After 30 minutes of fierce and passionate lovemaking, the doctor rolled over and gasped, "Wow, that was the best loving I've ever had." Before his wife could speak, he added, "I want a divorce." So an 80-year-old Italian man goes to the doctor for a checkup. The doctor is amazed at what good shape the guy is in and asks, "How do you stay in such great physical condition?" "I'm Italian, and I am a golfer," says the old guy, "and that's why I am in such good shape. I'm up well before daylight and out golfing up and down the fairways. Have a glass of wine, and all is well." "Well," says the doctor, "I'm sure that helps, but there's got to be more to it. How old was your dad when he died?" "Who said my dad's dead?" The doctor is amazed. "You mean you're 80 years old and your dad's still alive? How old is he?" "He's 100 years old," says the old Italian golfer. "In fact, he golfed with me this morning, and then we went to the topless beach for a walk. That's why he's still alive. He's Italian, and he's a golfer too." "Well," the doctor says, "that's great, but I'm sure there's more to it than that. How about your dad's dad? How old was he when he died?" "Who said my grandpa's dead?" Stunned, the doctor asks, "You mean you're 80 years old and your grandfather's still living?" "Incredible. How old is he?" "He's 118 years old," says the old Italian golfer. The doctor is getting frustrated at this point, so I guess he went golfing with you this morning too. "No, Grandpa couldn't go this morning because he's getting married today." At this point, the doctor is close to losing it. Getting married? Why would a 118-year-old guy want to get married? The old golfer smiled and said, "Who said he wanted to?" So there was a man named George who got a new job. His fellow employees always met for a round of golf every Saturday. They asked George to meet them at 10 Saturday morning. George replied that he would love to meet them, but he may be 10 minutes late. On Saturday morning, George was there at exactly 10. He golfed right-handed and won the round. Next Saturday rolls around, and George says that he will be there, but he may be 10 minutes late again. He shows up right on time, golfs left-handed, and wins the round. This continues for the next few weeks, with George always saying that he may be 10 minutes late and then always winning the round golfing, either left or right-handed. The other employees are getting tired of this and decided to ask him what the deal was. They said, "George, every Saturday you say you may be 10 minutes late. You never are. Then you show up and golf with either right-handed or left-handed and always win. What is up with that?" George replies, "Well, I'm a very superstitious kind of guy. Every Saturday when I wake up, I look over at my wife. If she is sleeping on her left side, I golf left-handed. If she is sleeping on her right side, I golf right-handed. Well, one of the employees questioned, what happens if she is laying on her back? George replies, then I am 10 minutes late. So, a woman is learning how to golf. She has been teaching herself to play for more than 3 months, and she is really bad. She decides to consult a golf pro. When she sees the golf pro, she explains how bad she is, and he tells her to go ahead and hit the ball. She does. The ball goes about 50 yards into the brush, slicing to the right. The golf pro says to the woman, I can see that you have a lot of problems. Your stance is bad. Your head is all over the place, and the worst thing is that grip. When she asks what can be done to fix the situation, he suggests, grab the club gently, as if you were grabbing your husband's manhood. When the feeling is right, go ahead and swing. She does just that, and the ball goes off the tee perfectly straight for about 275 yards. The golf pro says to the woman, that is unbelievable. I didn't think you would do that well. But now, on to your next problem. How are we going to get that golf club out of your mouth? So, a man is participating in a golf tournament. He was left to golf with just his caddy. On his tee-off, the golfer's ball lands in a patch of buttercups. The caddy tells the golfer he can take the ball onto the course, and he won't take a one-stroke penalty. However, the golfer refuses and takes the ball out of the buttercups and takes the stroke penalty. Suddenly, Mother Nature appears. What you just did was amazing. I am so proud that you enjoy nature and all of its beauty. For your reward, I will give you a lifetime supply of butter. Thanks, says the man. But where were you last week when my ball landed in the pussy willows? So a man was playing golf and forgot which hole he was at. He saw a woman ahead of him and asked, excuse me, what hole are we at? The woman replied, well, this is 7th and you're a hole behind, so that would be 6th. The man thanks her and returns to his hole. Smitten, he decides to go talk to her after a few holes. I'm sorry, but could you tell me what hole I'm at now? The woman smiles. This is 13, and you're a hole behind, so 12. The man thanks her and invites her to lunch. She accepts. At the table, getting to know each other, the man asks, what do you do for work? The woman blushes. You have to promise not to laugh. The man promises, and the woman reveals, I manage a tampon factory. The man immediately falls out of his chair, laughing. You promised. The woman shrieks in embarrassment. The man gets up and explains, no, it's not that. I work in toilet paper, so I'm still a hole behind. So this pastor decided to skip church one Sunday morning and go play golf. He told his assistant that he wasn't feeling well. He drove to a golf course in another city, so nobody would know him. He teed off on the first hole. A huge gust of wind caught his ball, carried it an extra 100 yards, and dropped it right in the hole for a 450-yard hole-in-one. An angel looked at God and said, what you do that for? God smiled and said, who's he going to tell? So Arthur is 75 years old. He's played golf every day since his retirement 15 years ago. One day he arrives home looking downcast. That's it, he tells his wife. I'm giving up golf. My eyesight has become so bad that once I hit the ball, I couldn't see where it went. His wife sympathizes and makes him a cup of tea. As they sit down, She says, "Why don't you take my brother with you and give it one more try?" "That's no good," sighs Arthur. "Your brother is 85. He can't help." "He may be 85, says the wife, "but his eyesight is perfect." So the next day, Arthur heads off to the golf course with his brother-in-law. He tees up, takes a mighty swing, and squints down the fairway. He turns to the brother-in-law and says, "Did you see the ball?" "Of course I did," answers the brother-in-law. "I have perfect eyesight." "Where did it go?" Arthur asks. The brother-in-law replies, "I don't remember." So, a Swede, an Irishman, a Scotsman, and their wives went to play golf one day. They were about to tee off on the first hole. The Swede's wife stepped up to the tee, and as she bent over to place her ball, a gust of wind blew her skirt up, revealing she wasn't wearing any underwear. "Good grief, woman. Why aren't you wearing any underwear?" Ole demanded. "Well, you don't give me enough housekeeping money to afford any," she replied. The Swede immediately reached into his pocket and said, "For the sake of decency, here's $50. Go buy yourself some underwear." Next, the Irishman's wife bent over to set her ball on the tee. Her skirt also blew up, showing she wasn't wearing any underwear either. "You, my wife, you've got no panties on." "Why not?" Patrick asked. She answered, "I can't afford any on the money you give me." Patrick reached into his pocket and said, "For the sake of decency, here's $20. Go buy yourself some underwear." Finally, the Scotsman's wife bent over. The wind lifted her skirt over her head, revealing she too was naked underneath. "For God's sake, Aggie, where the heck are your drawers?" Duncan asked. She explained, "You don't give me enough money to afford any." The Scotsman pulled out a comb out of his pocket, handed it to his wife, and said, "Well, go tidy yourself up a bit." So two strangers get paired up golfing. They're both pretty avid golfers, so they're playing a speedy round. They play through a couple groups and end up behind a couple ladies further up the fairway. The one chap decides to walk up and ask if they can play through. About halfway towards them, he stops dead and turns around. His partner says, "Why'd you stop?" "Well, when I got close, I realized one was my wife and one was my mistress." The other fellow decides to go inquire on behalf of the duo. He, too, gets halfway, stops, and turns around. As he comes back to his partner, he says, "Small world." So a nun and a priest are playing golf. The priest is teeing off at the first hole. The ball flies across the fairway towards the green, but lands meters from the hole. "Oh, God damn it, I missed." The nun scolds the priest. "Father, you ought to be careful. You, of all people, should know that if you continue to blaspheme like that, surely the Lord will strike you down with lightning." At the green, again, the priest takes his shot, but the ball rolls past the hole, coming to a stop just a few inches away from it. "Oh, God damn it, I missed again." Again, the nun warns him. "Father, watch your language. Take the Lord's name in vain again, and surely he will strike you down with lightning." The priest takes his putter and puts the ball towards the hole in what should be an incredibly easy shot. Unfortunately, the ball skims the side of the hole and overshoots, coming to rest just next to it. "Oh, God damn it. How could I miss that?" exclaims the priest. Suddenly, there's a huge thunder crash and bright flash of lightning hits the nun. And then a voice booms from above. Oh, God damn it. I missed. So, Professor Higgins at the University of Sydney was giving a lecture on involuntary muscle contractions to first-year medical students. This was not an exciting subject, and the professor decided to lighten up the mood. He pointed to a young woman in the front row and asked, "Do you know what your ass is doing while you're having an orgasm?" She replied, "Probably golfing with his buddies." So, after a particularly poor game of golf, a popular club member skipped the clubhouse and started to go home. As he was walking to the parking lot to get his car, a policeman stopped him and asked, "Did you tee off on the 16th hole about 20 minutes ago?" "Yes," the golfer responded. "Did you happen to hook your ball so that it went over the trees and off the course?" "Yes, I did." "How did you know?" he asked. "Well," said the policeman very seriously, "your ball flew out onto the highway and crashed through a driver's windshield. The car went out of control, crashing into 5 other cars and a fire truck. The fire truck couldn't make it to the fire, and the building burned down. So, what are you going to do about it?" The golfer thought it over carefully and responded, "I think I'll close my stance a little bit, tighten my grip, and lower my right thumb." So Jesus, Moses, and a friend of theirs all go out for a round of golf. Jesus steps up to the tee, takes his swing, and it's a nice-looking drive, but it ends up in the water hazard and floats to the top. He walks out onto the pond and chips up onto the green. Moses steps up to the tee and swings, but he also hits it into the water hazard. Only his ball sinks. He walks up to the pond, sand wedge in hand, and sticks it into the water. This makes the water part, allowing him to walk out to his ball and hit it to the green. Their friend steps up to the tee and hits an incredible drive, so far that it sails right over the green and over the fence, all the way to the highway, where it strikes the side of a truck and into the mouth of a frog in the side of the road. An eagle then swoops down and grabs the frog. As they're flying over the green, the eagle grips the frog tighter, which causes the frog to scream and drop the ball right into the hole. Hole in one. Moses looks at Jesus and says, "Damn, I hate playing golf with your dad." So an engineer, a priest, and a doctor are trying to enjoying a round of golf. Ahead of them is a group, playing so slowly and inexpertly that in frustration, the 3 ask the greenkeeper for an explanation. "That's a group of blind firefighters," they are told. "They lost their sight saving our clubhouse last year, so we let them play for free." The priest says, "I will say a prayer for them tonight." The doctor says, "Let me ask my ophthalmologist colleagues if anything can be done for them." And the engineer says, "Why can't they play at night?" So 2 retirees, George and Sam, have been playing golf every Saturday for decades. Always the same time, same course. They leave their houses at 10 a.m., get home at 3 p.m. One Saturday, Sam isn't home at 3 nor 4. Finally, at around 5, he staggers in, haggard, disheveled. In short, he looks like hell. "Sam, you look awful," said his wife. "I was so worried about you." "What happened?" "It was terrible," Sam replied. "Worst day of my life. George and I were halfway down the first fairway when he clutched his chest and fell over, stone dead. His heart must have given out." "Oh dear," says the wife. "He was your best friend in the whole world." "What did you do?" "What could I do?" says Sam. For the rest of the round, it was hit the ball, drag George, hit the ball, drag George. So a rich old man goes golfing with his friend. and he brings along a gorgeous young lady. "Well, guys, meet my new wife," he says, full of pride. And for the rest of the afternoon, friends can't take their eyes off the beauty. After the round of golf, the rich man goes up to the bar to order drinks for the group. One of his friends accompanies him and quietly asks, "How did you manage to hook up with such a beautiful young lady? You're 70. She must be at least 40 years younger than you." "I lied about my age," replied the old rich guy. "And she believed you." "How old did you say you were?" asked his friends. The rich man replied, "I told her I was 90. So a guy is playing golf with his wife. They're on the hole 12, and the guy slices his tee shot right into the woods. He trudges into the woods and locates his ball. It's in a little clearing, but there is a big barn between him and the green. He takes a good look and says, "Listen, honey, I think if you hold the barn door open, I can hit the ball right through the barn and onto the green." So his wife goes over and holds the door open. The guy takes a 4-iron and whack, hits the ball. The ball hits his wife right between the eyes, killing her instantly. Well, it's a year later, and the guy is on the same golf course with his new wife. They're on the 12th hole, and, once again, he hits a slice into the woods. Shaking his head with disgust, he heads into the woods. Sure enough, his ball is in about the same spot. Sadly, he takes out a 7-iron and lines up to hit the ball sideways back onto the fairway. Before he can take the shot, his new wife says, "Honey, you know, I think I might be able to hold the barn door open for you. That way, you can hit the ball through the barn and onto the green." The guy just shakes his head. "No way, dear," he says. "I tried that last year and ended up with a 9 on the hole." So one morning, an elderly man was out playing golf when he hit his ball into the deep rough. While searching for the ball, he came across a frog. The frog looked up at him and said, "Sir, if you kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful princess." So the old man bent down, picked up the frog, put it into his pocket, and carried on looking for his ball. A few minutes later, a voice from his pocket shouted, "I don't think you heard me. I said, if you kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful princess." The old man replied, "No thanks. Frankly, at my age, I'd rather have a talking frog." So an old man goes golfing every weekend. His wife always complains about his going and leaving her alone. So one weekend, he says, "Why don't you come with me and I'll teach you how to play?" She agrees, and on the first hole, a par 4 with a dog leg, she asks, "Okay, what do I do?" He says, "You see that flag way down there with that patch of green around it? You have to hit the ball onto that patch of grass, close to the flag." So she swings and hits an amazing drive. The ball lands 3 feet from the hole. The man says that was incredible. "Great shot." His wife asks, "So what do I do now?" "So," he says, "well, now you have to hit it into that hole." The wife says, "Well, why didn't you tell me that to begin with?" So Moses and Jesus are playing golf. They come to a 210-yard par 3 that only a lake between tee and green. Jesus turns to Moses and asks what club would Tiger Woods use on this hole? Moses says, "Lord, Tiger would use a 4-iron, but you should use a 3-wood. Jesus pulls a 4-iron and sure enough, his ball lands in the water. Moses says, "I'll take care of this." He walks to the edge of the lake, parts the waters, and retrieves the ball. Once again, Jesus asks what club would Tiger Woods use on this hole. Moses gives the same answer. Jesus tees up and plop into the lake. Moses says he will get it, but Jesus says he will take care of it. He walks out onto the lake. Right then, the group approaches behind them. One looks to another and says, "Look at that guy. Who does he think he is? Jesus Christ?" Moses turns and says, "No, he thinks he's Tiger Woods." So many years ago, during my married days, I accidentally overturned my golf cart. Elizabeth, a very attractive and keen golfer who lived in a villa on the golf course, heard the noise and called out, "Are you okay?" "What's your name?" "It's John, and I'm okay, thanks," I replied as I pulled myself out of the twisted cart. "John," she said, "forget your troubles. Come to my villa, rest a while, and I'll help you get the cart up later." "That's mighty nice of you," I answered, "but I don't think my wife would like it." "Oh, come on now," Elizabeth insisted. She was so very pretty, very, very sexy, and very persuasive. I was weak. "Well, okay," I finally agreed, but thought to myself, my wife won't like it. After a couple of restorative scotch and waters, I thanked Elizabeth. I feel a lot better now, but I know my wife is going to be really upset. So I'd best go now. "Don't be silly," Elizabeth said with a smile, letting her robe fall open slightly. "She won't know anything. By the way, where is she?" With a sigh, I replied, "Still under the cart, I guess." So 4 guys have been going to the same golfing trip to St. Andrews for many years. 2 days before the group is to leave, Jack's wife puts her foot down and tells him he isn't going and that she's got something else planned. Naturally, Jack's mates are very upset that he can't go, but what can they do? 2 days later, the 3 get to St. Andrews only to find Jack sitting at the bar with 4 drinks set up. "Wow, Jack, how long you been here? And how did you talk your missus into letting you go?" They say with astonishment. "Well, actually, I've been here since last night. You see, yesterday evening, I was sitting in my living room chair, and my wife came up behind me and put her hands over my eyes and asked, 'Guess who?' I pulled her hands off, and there she was, wearing only a see-through nightie. She took my hand and pulled me into our bedroom. On her bedside table, I saw the book 50 Shades of Grey. She had lit candles and sprinkled rose petals around and on the bed. She had handcuffs and ropes. Then she slipped off her nightie, laid on the bed and said, 'Okay, tie me up, handcuff me to the bed, and do whatever you want.' So, here I am." So a man goes to confessional and tells the priest, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I took the Lord's name in vain while golfing." "I understand, my son," the priest says. "I play the game as well, and it can be frustrating." "What happened?" "Well," the man says, "I hit my drive on the 15th green, and it sliced to the right into the trees." "Was that when you did it?" the priest asked. "No, the ball bounced off a tree and onto the green," the man continued, "but it bounced into a sand trap." "And then you cursed?" "No, I pulled out a wedge and chipped the ball right out of there. It rolled down the green and stopped 2 feet from the cup." "Ah, that was when you blasphemed," the priest nods. "No, Father," the man replies. "Jesus Christ," the priest yells. "You missed the damn putt." So a couple went golfing one day at a very exclusive course lined with million-dollar homes. On the 3rd tee, the husband cautioned, "Honey, be careful when you drive. If we break one of those windows, It'll cost us a fortune to repair." Of course, she immediately shanked her drive right through the window of the biggest house on the course. The husband cringed. "I warned you to watch out. Now we'll have to go up there and apologize and see how much that lousy drive is going to cost us." They walked up, knocked on the door, and a warm voice said, "Come on in." When they opened the door, they saw glass all over the place and a broken antique bottle lying on its side near the broken window. A man reclining on the couch asked, "Are you the people that broke the window?" Yeah, we're very sorry about that," the husband replied. "Oh, no apology is necessary. Actually, I want to thank you. You see, I'm a genie, and I've been trapped in that bottle for 1,000 years. Now that you've released me, I'm allowed to grant 3 wishes. I'll give you each one wish, and I'll keep the last one for myself." "Wow, that's great," the husband said. He pondered a moment and blurted out, "I'd like $1 million a year for the rest of my life." "No problem," said the genie. "You've got it. I have already put $1 million in your bank account. It's the least I can do. And now you, young lady, what do you want?" the genie asked. "I'd like to own a gorgeous home, complete with servants in every country in the world," she said. "Consider it done. The deeds are now in your name," the genie said. And now, the couple both asked in unison, "What's your wish, genie?" "Well, since I've been trapped in that bottle and haven't been with a woman in 1,000 years, my wish is to make love with your wife." The husband looked at his wife and said, "Gee, honey, you know we both now have a fortune and all those houses. What do you think?" She mulled it over for a few moments and said, "You know, you're right. Considering all that, I guess I wouldn't mind." The genie and the woman went upstairs, where he ravished her for the rest of the afternoon. Both satisfied each other repeatedly, and afterwards, the genie rolled over and looked at the wife and asked, "How old are you and your husband?" "Why, we're both 35, she responded breathlessly. "No shit. 35 years old, and both of you still believe in genies." So a man takes the day off work and decides to go out golfing. He is on the second hole when he notices a frog sitting next to the green. He thinks nothing of it and is about to shoot when he hears ribbit, 9 iron. The man looks around and doesn't see anyone. Ribbit, 9 iron. He looks at the frog and decides to prove the frog wrong. He puts his other club away and grabs a 9 iron. Boom! He hits it 10 inches from the cup. He is shocked. He says to the frog, "Wow, that's amazing. You must be a lucky frog, eh?" The frog replies, "Ribbit, lucky frog." The man decides to take the frog with him to the next hole. "What do you think, frog?" the man asks. "Ribbit, 3 wood." The guy takes out a 3 wood, and boom, a hole in one. The man is befuddled and doesn't know what to say. By the end of the day, the man has golfed the best game of golf in his life and asks the frog, "Okay, where to next?" The frog replies, "Ribbit, Las Vegas." They go to Las Vegas, and the guy says, "Okay, frog, now what?" The frog says, "Ribbit, roulette." Upon approaching the roulette table, the man asks, "What do you think I should bet?" The frog replies, "Ribbit, $3,000, black 6. Now, this is a 1,000,000 to 1 shot to win, but after the golf game, the man figures, what the heck? Boom, tons of cash come sliding back across the table. The man takes his winnings and buys the best room in the hotel. He sits the frog down and says, "Frog, I don't know how to repay you. You've won me all this money and I am forever grateful. The frog replies, Ribbit, kiss me. He figures, why not? After all the frog did for him, it is a small price to pay. With the kiss, however, the frog turns into a gorgeous 15-year-old girl. And that, Your Honor, is how the girl ended up in my room.